She had informed me of my privilege. And in that moment, she had wiped away all of the suffering that I had endured in my life and all of the achievements that I had accomplished in my life. The idea of breaking bread with the enemy seems insane. Well, that's because we have all of these identity politics which keep us in these tight boxes. Hello, my friends. I wanted to do a topic on black fatigue. I see that that's been trending in social media, and I wanted to talk about it. So, for me, I feel that this notion of black fatigue isn't necessarily about black fatigue. I think it's about activism fatigue, and the reason I think about that is because I think in the last decade, I feel like our society has very much focused on the progressive movement, social justice movement of promoting LGBTQ initiatives, Black Lives Matter, and the women's movement. And so I feel that when we've pushed really hard on these three key specific areas within our country, I think it's led to a feeling of the people that don't belong to those groups. Primarily, the locus of that would be straight white male. The idea is, hey, I don't matter, and I'm being demonized. I'm being pointed out as the bad person, and a lot of people that are social justice warriors are shouting from the rooftops, yes, that's the whole entire freaking point. And then I think people are now shouting back, no, that's the real point. We are tired of being demonized, and we're tired of it's fatiguing to constantly be told, other people are victims, and what they're going through matters, and what you're going through does not matter. When I was in my first marriage, I was married to somebody that became very radicalized ideologically, and this was around like the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump era of the election. And I remember her coming in. I remember there was more and more distance between us as things were going on, and the idea of the idea of privilege and that concept was getting touted and thrown around and snowballing and quickly picking up steam. So I remember the exact moment where my ex-wife had come to me and she says, hey, well, the only reason you have what you have is because you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. And I never forgot that moment. For as long as I live, I will never forget that moment. My ex-wife had come to me and told me, and she had informed me of my privilege. And in that moment, she had wiped away all of the suffering that I had endured in my life and all of the achievements that I had accomplished in my life. And so the fact that I had been in a family where there was a lot of emotional and verbal abuse, and I had suffered that trauma, and it had long-lasting effects for decades beyond that, and really screwed me up in life, that didn't matter. The fact that I had gone to college and worked my way up and gotten into a great college, and ultimately had started a career after that based on my merits and based on my achievement, no, it was all wiped away because I was a straight white male and everything was handed to me. So the fact that I had gone through college and it was very difficult, to the point of I had even contemplated suicide. It was extremely difficult for me being having a lot of social anxiety and not being able to make friends and not being able to mix with other people, and being kind of this nerdy guy that was just awkward and couldn't really blend in. No, none of that mattered. So my life was perfect, and everything I had was handed to me on a silver platter. So for me, that's why this reckoning moment is coming, where people are getting this large scale fatigue. I think that we demonize people in our society and say, well, if you're not on this movement, then you're a racist, sexist, homophobe, and you're one of the bad apples, and we need to basically bowl over you to kind of get to this utopian society that we're trying to build. But it's inherently, a lot of people say, hey, if we're trying to glorify people and try to assign value to people, we've left a lot of people off that list. And by the way, you're suffering, I get that, but you know what? A lot of other people are suffering too. So I've done a lot of men's support group work over the years, and I've seen how men suffer. And I know that women on the opposite side of it suffer as well. There's people all over the place are suffering. Normal, everyday people are suffering from things like porn addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, infidelity, recovering from infidelity in a relationship, failed marriages, separations, going through divorces, custody battles, mental health issues. The list goes on to infinity. So I think the fatigue of this decade comes from the idea that certain people's victimization is larger and therefore more important, and we need to focus on that. And everybody else is sitting on easy street. Well, nobody. That's a ridiculous that we would, as a society, would continue to go on in perpetuity on that pace by basically saying, hey, these people matter and everybody else, you suffer less, so you don't matter. And I think that's where all of this fatigue is coming from. And so what I would say to people is, we need to be establishing a better culture, one that has more decency and integrity and respect. I don't know how we're going to do that, because I think that there's so much bad will between us. But just because we don't necessarily know how to get somewhere doesn't mean it's not worth trying to get there. I've stated that on this channel I want to be a unifying force, but for me, as I kind of described, with being informed of my privilege and basically feeling like I was devalued to the point of nothingness, and my only value that I could ever aspire to in life was attributed to how much of an ally I could be to other people. That didn't make me feel good. That did not make me feel like I was included in the future plans. That made me feel like I'm an antiquated relic that is being phased out in favor of newer models, and I'm part of the past. And I didn't like that feeling, and I'm never gonna like that feeling. I think we need to come together and focus less on the identity politics, but good luck with that. Again, if we're going to be successful as a country, I think we need to have a period of time where we are fixating less on that. If we are going to be successful as a country and end this culture war, we need love and we need compassion. I always quote Martin Luther King Jr. because I love him. He's a big hero of mine. I think he's a true American hero. He was a strong Christian, and he said, darkness does not drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate does not drive out hate, only love can do that. And I strongly believe in that, and that's how it's got to be. So when we feel attacked, we get defensive. When we feel victimized, we attack. And so we need to do a better job of wanting to mend fences. We have to want it. And right now we are in such polarized times that the idea of breaking bread with the enemy seems insane. Well, that's because we have all of these identity politics which keep us in these tight boxes. And if you cross the line of outside of your box, you are breaking the cohesion of that identity group, and therefore you are a traitor. And people don't want to feel that way. So people are brainwashed and ideologically captured to remain in their echo chambers and for us to be perpetually at war. And it really sickens me. I think we really need to get back into more actual intellectual conversation that has integrity and isn't just propaganda talking points, beating the people over the head with propaganda and trying to punish them for wrongthink. I think that we need to have intellectually honest debates, and we need to kind of all take accountability for moving the needle forward to have less divisiveness for the greater good of all of us. We don't all have to agree on everything, but what we should agree on is, let's not try to enforce our way of life and our way of thinking on other people. A free country is one where people get to choose what they do. We've gotten into a pattern of suppression and forcing people to think a certain way. And if they don't think a certain way, we go after them and we ruin them. I think that the extremism in our country needs to subside. And again, I understand that there's extremism on both sides, but I shared my story and being vulnerable to share my story that's very unique to me. I understand that there's a lot of stories that are very counter to mine, and people have a lot of different opinions, and people have a lot of different experiences. So I don't want to discount everybody's viewpoint and everybody's experience, but I wanted to share mine and why I have the unique viewpoint that I did. Again, just to wrap up with that, I felt when the progressive movement started going, I was informed of my white straight male privilege, and I effectively felt that completely devalued me and wiped clean any sort of value that I had in our society and in my marriage specifically. So I'm never going to forget that, and I think a lot of people can feel that feeling. And if you are on you're on the other side of the other side of this, I just want you to know that I empathize with anybody that has felt invalidated and like they don't matter. And so that's not necessarily unique to me and my experience. And it's not that, hey, people that look like me and act like me, they need to be the only ones that are heard. I would never say that. I want to be loving and I want to be accepting of people. But the last decade, I feel like we've just been hurtling in a specific direction that has made me feel extremely devalued and extremely frustrated on a daily basis for where this country's going. So anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. I really want to make videos that are challenging intellectually. I want to be intellectually honest. I want to champion, I want to champion intellectual debate and intellectual integrity and classiness and love. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Bye.